Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. here in Toronto. This is Evgeny. We are going live again for our monthly, or like a daily show for the month of October for security awareness. Every day we have a different guest to talk about different topic. And today we have a pleasure to talk to Jason about talent acquisition. Jason, can you please introduce yourself and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, good morning, Evgeny. Thank you for having me. My name is Jason Stookey, and I'm the event director for CyberTech USA. We are a international cybersecurity B2B event platform. And I'm here today to chat with you about an ever-pressing need in the technology industry around talent.
This is a definitely very, very interesting and needed topic because there's a lot of kind of different people talking about different things. In one side, we have people that saying we need more people, we cannot find anyone. And then we have a lot of younger people, or not always younger people, that transition into cybersecurity and saying they cannot find work. And it's created a bit of a, I guess, misunderstanding. Where is the problem and what we can do to help everyone in the industry? And I'm wondering, what do you see so far and what's your take on this in general?
I think it's an ongoing problem that for the short term, I think is unfortunately is only going to get worse. I think we need to be starting at the youngest levels to get people interested in technology, especially reaching out to younger people that may not be from maybe from underserved communities. And help create a pipeline and of talent that can help fill these positions. But what I see right now is a lot of poaching continues to go on. It's always somebody waiting for the highest salary offer to make a job hot. But what's not happening is a robust curation of talent. I am seeing a number of initiatives at the state levels starting to take place. I was in Indianapolis, for example, 2 or 3 weeks ago. In Indiana, I believe has about 41,000 or so technology jobs that they need to fill, and they have launched a public-private initiative to help fill those positions over the next 10 years. But this is a real problem. Within the industry, and if cybersecurity is the baseline level of trust that we need, to have as people move forward, living their lives in a cyber or digital economy, we could have some serious problems if we don't fill this talent void.
And I'm kind of interested. So before I ask you the question, by the way, if you're watching this live, feel free to ask questions on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch. And if you're watching this later on, you can always find me or Jason later on LinkedIn and ask questions as well. So this is a live show. And if you really want to be on a show, message us and we'll figure out how we can bring you on a show as well. And Jason, the question I wanted to ask you, why the problem happened? Is because there is more breaches, it's because more bad guys. I don't think it's directly related to COVID, but there is some relationship as well. But where it started?
To say it's just unique to cybersecurity, to be fair, is probably the wrong way to look at it. I mean, I think it's technology, as a whole, and the rapid proliferation of the cloud has just changed our entire life. And so it's not. I don't think it's just unique to cybersecurity. If I'm being fair, I think it's indicative to the whole technology community. And the industry exploded over the last 20 years, and the education system, the access to resources to help people get certifications, it just takes a little time to catch up. So I think it's just a rapidly expanding industry that has outpaced the number of people that can enter into it, into the workforce. Around cybersecurity, in particular, COVID has definitely driven awareness about how important cybersecurity is. You saw it in the supply chain attacks, attacks on critical infrastructure. So it became much more prevalent and much more in the news. and then you add into the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, that really exacerbated the need for more talent to tackle the cybersecurity issue. It just seems like it's all coming together at this point in time, but this has been a long brewing, process. And
Yeah,
so
I
I
agree.
think we're at an inflection point where we're going to start to see some real problems if we weren't able to solve these problems by bringing new young people, in, or getting people that want to transition in their career into cybersecurity. So it's a challenge that needs to be addressed, and what we do at Cybertech does focus on talent acquisition. But we can chat about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about this in a few. So while you were talking about COVID, and I was thinking about this, COVID made us work remotely, and in some cases, companies kind of backed off and like you have to be in the office to we can have people remote. And we see, for example, Bay Area hiring people from New York, from Toronto, from other states as well, and Canada and other countries as well. So do we potentially have a way to solve it by hiring people from other locations, from Europe, for example, from India, from anywhere? Is this should be make it better, or just going to shift the problem somewhere else?
No, I think I think. Well, let me tackle the diversity and inclusion angle first. Um, the technology industry as a whole needs to make sure that it is going into underserved areas and helping underserved and underrepresented segments of the population to have access to learning critical skills, in technology to get, certification. For example, our event that we do in Tel Aviv in March, we had a whole program around talent acquisition, and in particular, how in Israel there was the need to embrace Palestinians or Israeli Arabs to bring them into the workforce. And so to your point, here in the United States or in North America or in Europe, yes, look to Africa, look to India for talent that is exciting and new and can look at things from a different perspective. That's where we're going to fill this talent void, is by looking outside of the Western world, quite frankly. And I don't mean to. We need to look at Africa hard. There's a huge smart population there that I think could help solve many of these problems. And now that we live in a remote world, you don't have to live in New York or Toronto or San Francisco to be in technology.
Agree. Maybe you can shed more light on what's happening in Israel from talent acquisition and maybe some of the ideas what you guys do in cybertech. If I'm watching the show right now or later on and I'm not in cybersecurity, any ideas or tips or maybe what you guys explain in a cybertech that help people to get into the cyber community?
Sure. I mean, we work with a lot of academia, both universities as well as institutions that help with training and certification. And if you're currently in the job market looking to make a switch into technology, there are a number of nonprofit organizations that you can easily look up on the internet. And I since there's so many, I don't want to name one at the risk of offending another, but a simple search can
Yeah,
show you.
interesting enough, Jessica just asked a question about like tips and tricks to get a cyber career, and answering this, find an academia, find free trainings. There's a lot of stuff exists online.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
teach you, help you.
yeah. There's organizations, and again, I don't mean to call anybody out, and please, I don't mean to offend anybody that I don't say, but organizations like CompTIA, for example, have a very baseline certification program to get you in to the technology or cybersecurity, realm. There's online courses, that a number of vendors, provide. That's a very low cost way to start to get yourself, familiar with it. And I think if you're demonstrating an intellectual curiosity around cybersecurity, and you can take some of those first steps, getting into a vendor that, or a company that will then train you, is probably your best, your best bet. Just show that baseline level that you're interested in it. And I can't imagine that there's a chief information security officer, or his director, or his or her director, that would not want to mentor somebody, because they've got more work on their plate than they can handle. So just make that initial effort, and I think you'll be well received.
I definitely agree with you on the part on the effort, and in general to search as well. Cybersecurity as a topic itself globally change all the time. So if you want to get to cybersecurity field, I think you need to understand right away that you will have to learn all the time. It's not something that you learn once and you will do it for the next 10, 15 years. Everything is changing. So if you don't have the mind or kind of eagerness to learn and adapt, it could be quite hard to be in cybersecurity. You need to be curious, you need to understand, you need to learn, you need to seek for information as well. And we have another question from Omar. Let's see what Omar is asking. What about the issue of sponsorship, even for remote jobs? Sponsorship is interesting. Are you talking about, Omar? I'm wondering if it's sponsorship from company doesn't want to pay. If somebody wants to do an intern but it's free, maybe you can refine the question. Meanwhile, Jason, do you have any information about sponsorship for remote work?
We could probably spend a lot of time on, especially here in the U.S., our immigration policies, especially around bringing talent into universities, and making sure that we provide them the visa requirements. I don't remember exactly what it's called. The U.S. does a great job of educating amazing technology individuals, and we need to do a better job of allowing them to stay, in the United States, to use that to use that talent. But that's me dodging the question politically.
It's okay. Yeah, I understand. I see Sheldon just joined. Sheldon, welcome to the show. If you have a question, please ask. You as a CEO of a company, I'm wondering what is your biggest challenge in cybersecurity. So when you hear this, you're more than welcome to ask a question or maybe write in the comments. Meanwhile, I want to quickly direct that as this show is going live every day, and if you want to find out on the previous shows this week or what's happening later on this week, tomorrow we'll talk about intellectual property and cybersecurity. And Friday, we actually talk about how to get in the conferences and become a speaker as well. So it's related to the topic me and Jason will talk right now as well. And you can also on this link find the two podcasts I'm running. One is with Dimitri Reitman, Security Architecture Podcast, and the second one, Cyber Inspiration, that I'm doing myself, about the inspiration and motivation of founders to start their own journey and their own company. Jason, let's talk about more about cybertech, maybe a bit of history and what you guys do, because I also know that it used to be mainly in Israel, but right now you guys are doing quite a big effort to make it in North America as well. And if you guys want to learn more, here's the link here. And I also see if I can put it in the comments. And also, please maybe mention who can come and what kind of people we expect.
Sure. No, thank you. So yes, as I mentioned at the beginning, I work for Cybertech USA, and that is a joint venture between Cybertech Global, which is an Israeli-based event and media company, and a French event organizer called Comexposium. So North America is in my purview, but as you mentioned, our roots are in Israel. The first Cybertech Global took place in 2014 in Tel Aviv and was wildly successful, and then quickly expanded globally to Rome, Dubai, Singapore, Tokyo. And then we were making inroads into the North American market prior to COVID, and had some very successful events in Indianapolis. But unfortunately, COVID shut everything down. And so at the beginning of 2022, I joined basically as employee number one for the joint venture, and I'm now reintroducing the brand, to the North American market. At our core, Evgeny, we are a B2B platform that brings together buyers and sellers of cyber security products, technology, services. But our secret sauce, if you will, is that we also like to talk about the entire ecosystem. And from our perspective, that ecosystem is made up of 4 distinct pillars. Those pillars are startups. Being an Israeli cybersecurity company, we'd be foolish if we weren't leaning into the hundreds of cybersecurity companies that are coming out of Israel as unicorns on a daily basis. But so as part of that, we attract the deal flow community, venture capital, angel investors, et cetera. That draws then an interest from governments. And in particular, we work with economic development corporations. So in New York, for example, we're working with the New York Economic Development Corporation as they're keen to attract those startups to potentially set up their businesses, in New York. But also, when we work with governments, we work at the federal, state, or federal, regional, and local level, as many regions, especially here in the U.S., states have very robust cybersecurity policies and programs that they want to sell to businesses that are looking to set up business in their municipality, to say, we take cyber seriously. We prosecute, these issues. So there's a lot of chest thumping that states want to do to say that we've got a very good cyber policy. But what that then bleeds into is what's the topic of today, is these economic development corporations also want to look at cyber from a job creation, program. And so at all of our events, we do focus on talent acquisition, and we do have an emphasis on diversity and inclusion. And so, for example, at our New York event coming up next month, we have a whole Women in Cyber program that will talk about ways that women can excel in cyber, can build networks, mentor. As this is a critical issue, that we need to make sure that, again, we're casting the widest net possible to bring people, into the job sector. And then that ties back into our 4th pillar, which is getting that training. So we work with academia. We work with universities like Purdue University in Indiana that has a robust cyber program. But they also, those programs also want to look at an event like ours to meet with the private sector to develop research and development opportunities, to create innovation, and then turn around and monetize, that out into the marketplace. Our New York event in particular will have some specific focus on 5 key areas. We're focusing on critical infrastructure. Again, state of the world, I think, dictates that this is an ongoing issue when you have attacks on pipelines and things of that nature. Supply chain issues, still are a residual effect coming out of COVID that have been impacted by ransomware or various cybersecurity attacks. We'll also have a focus, again, because we're in New York, on fintech, the financial capital of the world. There's a lot of cyber-related issues there that we touch upon. As part of that fintech, we do focus on other regulated industries like bio and pharma. And in particular, we'll have a dedicated session on cyber for hospital use, as machinery, machines that are on closed operating systems can be hacked. And if you're in surgery on a life support machine and that gets hacked, that's a bad problem. So, we focus on that. Yeah. And so, and then we'll also focus some on media, for cyber at our event, especially in this age of disinformation, fake news, campaigns, and so forth. So I try to keep that as short as possible. I could talk ad nauseum about the event, so that's what I do, but please feel free to stop me and ask questions.
No worries. So New York will be November 15 and 16, correct? 2 days.
Correct. Yeah, November 15th and 16th. And to your point in terms of who should attend, this is definitely a more of an executive level of event, dealing with policies, issues, trends. We're not an event where you're going to get hands-on training on the latest software. We bring together global leaders from the private, public, and NGO sectors. And if you check out our website and see, the robust list of speakers, you'll see that represented, as we have the Consul General from Finland, who just happens to be a cybersecurity, expert, speaking. We have the head of the UAE police, or the equivalent of their FBI. I apologize for butchering it here. So we have a global, perspective, as well as we have the Undersecretary for the Department of Homeland, Security. We have leading vendors such as Microsoft, MasterCard. So we've got a very unique lineup of folks that are there. So I encourage anybody who is, if you're a CEO of a company, you should know what is coming down the pipe that's going to impact your, business for the next 12 to 18 months. If you're a CISO, you should be attending. Or if you're an investor that is looking to meet with startups, we have more than 65 startups that will be represented, at our conference. So we've got a little bit of everything coming up.
Sounds with the conference is getting back in physical, it could be a very good event for networking with people, to see people face to face, to also understand what's coming up in cybersecurity, what we envision the problems and the solutions as well, and the way to mitigate them as well. You mentioned there are going to be a number of conferences, so maybe you can also explain what's coming in the pipe, and is it going to be similar or a bit different in the ways they're going to be done?
Sure. For North America, our 2023 lineup of events is we will have a one-day event in March in Miami, as a way to kick off our year, to help promote our other events. But it also supports our LATAM event that we are doing in Panama City, Panama, May 17th and 18th. Then our next event will be we'll be back in Indianapolis, June 19th and 20th. This will actually be, I believe, our 4th year in Indianapolis, and we're really excited to be back. The state of Indiana and the Indianapolis community has really embraced our event, and we're really there to help support their goal to become a technology and innovation hub for the Midwest. Many locations are trying to transform, their economies, and we've partnered successfully with them to help them achieve, that objective. And then our last event will be back in New York in November of 2023. On a global scale, our flagship event in Tel Aviv will be January 30th, 31st, and February 1st back in Tel Aviv. And our other flagship event is in Rome. Don't hold me to it. I believe I have it right here. October 3rd and 4th in Rome. We have a few other events that we're still trying to bring online in Tokyo and in Singapore. They've just been a little slower to emerge from COVID. But stay tuned to our website for more information on those events.
Sounds like a very busy next year, and it's bring joy to my ears, you guys doing this. Jason, thank you very much. Very interesting show, and I'm looking forward for the event in November as well, and for the Azure event as well. Anything you want to add?
No, Evgeny, thank you very much. And if anybody's interested in attending the event, definitely check out the website that's listed here on the stream.
And in the comment as well, yeah.
Yeah, or feel free to just reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to provide a registration code.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.